Okay, here we go. Story number 1. How did I become a professor? As you guys know, I started my YouTube channel 2 weeks ago. Well, that's not true. I started my YouTube channel 2 years ago as a place to put class lectures on, so share with my students. And also last year when I was over in Germany, I had to give some lectures and provide some assignments for students. So I started using this YouTube channel as a repository for class-related videos. But this year I decided to make some videos. I do have a lot of stories to tell, so I decided to make this channel. I love to document things and I like to tell stories. Maybe not on film necessarily, but just to tell stories. So I thought, well, if everyone else is out there vlogging, maybe I can make a vlog myself. I quickly realized a lot of what I do on a day-to-day is driving places and meeting people. I'm not sure how much my personality will come through driving and meeting people. Well, my wife will argue with me over that point, and she will say that I drive very aggressively, and a lot of my personality comes through my driving. That is true. I used to be a professional racer, so I don't necessarily drive very fast anymore. Other than driving and meeting people, I don't know, we go and do things, but I will try to document those. We go out, we do interesting projects, but to me, that's just normal everyday stuff. But in the meantime, I'm driving a lot. Maybe I can tell stories about my life when I'm driving and share as a series of storytelling. You will get to learn about me a bit more, get to learn my personality. So I've only been doing this for 2 weeks, so I would really appreciate if you guys can tell me in the comments and let me know how I'm doing. Because I'm telling you, I have plenty of time. I put this GoPro camera on the windshield, turn the mic on, and I can talk all day. Because my wife will tell you, I will talk all day and tell stories all day. So if you want to hear it, let me know. So as you know, I call myself the ProfessorZ, and the reason is I'm actually a professor. I'm an assistant professor of entrepreneurship at Lincoln University. So many people, well, if you went to college, you've met your professors, and there are all kinds of professors, there are all kinds of personalities. But what's common is that many people, I wouldn't say most, but many of the professors always knew they were going to be professors, right? Because you have to go to college, you have to go to grad school, you have to get a PhD in order to become a professor. So along the way, you have to make that decision. And it's a career pursuit. For me, it was never really a career pursuit. Right, I actually, up until the point where I applied to be a full-time professor, I didn't really know I want to be a full-time professor. When the opportunity presented itself, and I thought long and hard about what it means to be one, and I accepted and I embraced it. But before that, I never really pursued a professorship. I would say I really enjoyed teaching. I've been teaching on and off for 20 some years. And it started when I was a high school dropout, honestly. But I always loved teaching. And I would say it's more about the act of teaching than it is being a teacher. See, a lot of people view teaching either as a school teacher or as a professor as a career. I never really looked at it as a career, obviously, as I keep saying. I just like to teach. By teaching, I really mean sharing what I know with my audience, right, whoever they are. If it's a room full of kids, I would like to share something they want to hear. And as a room full of students, I want to share something that they can find useful and they want to hear. And that's why I started this YouTube channel, because I want to be able to share something that you, the audience of my channel, wants to hear. So that's why I continue to try to improve what I'm offering here. And that's how I teach as well. So I started teaching 20 some years ago. I think this is about 1995. At the time, I had just got out of homelessness and was working in a restaurant as a delivery driver. And I was looking for something that's not restaurant based. I gotta tell you, I worked in a restaurant for so long. I actually didn't want to eat chicken for a long time. And that's a story for another day. But I was looking for a sort of more professional kind of job that's respectful. And I came across this listing in a newspaper, I believe, that the Free Library of Philadelphia is looking for someone to drive out on a daily basis to neighborhood libraries to work with kids to teach them how to use technology. Now, I've always liked technology. I got a computer when I was very young, and I taught myself how to program. You know, at the time, not so well yet, but I taught myself how to program, and I was very proficient. And remember, this is 1995. Not a lot of people were proficient with computers, so I had the skills that they wanted. So I applied, even though I didn't have a degree. I think I just got my GED then. That might have been a requirement to be able to work with kids. I was not a college graduate or even college educated yet. So I went and applied, and to my surprise, and that's one of the biggest blessings in my life, that I got an interview. So I went in and interviewed alongside all these other young people who are college students. And later on, I actually found out that many of them were students at University of Pennsylvania, the Ivy League university. So they're really good college students. And then they were, I think they were trying to do something meaningful. They were trying to give back. And so they wanted to work for this nonprofit, the library, and work with kids. And there's me. I think I was one, if not two, of the only persons who applied who were college grads or college students. But because I guess I had a good attitude and I want to work with kids, so I got that job. And I end up being, I think, the longest tenured employee there. I worked from 1995 to almost 2000 for 5 years, driving around the city of Philadelphia, going from library branch to library branch every single afternoon, and ran after school programs for kids that come to the library. I started off with, they give me a laptop, and I will go out there and I will teach them how to use the laptop. I will teach them how to type. I will teach them about how to use the internet. I will help them with homework. I'll help them with typing. So I did all kinds of stuff. So basically, sort of like a after-school tutor, but at the library for free. And along the way, we also worked with a lot of high school kids that came through as teen assistants. And there were assistants in the program. They got paid a wage, and then they worked with the kids and assisting us who are trainers. So I ran a lot of programs. I started off doing one-on-one stuff, end up working with the kids in large groups. Maybe from that point on, I was already pretty good with working with the groups of people, and my programs were pretty in demand, and they were usually booked up. I remember I went to a library once. They had to let me run the class on the main floor because I had probably 30 or 40 kids plus their parents there trying to learn how to work on the laptop, or it might have been an internet class. This is like 96, 97. People were just getting started, getting online. So I really enjoyed teaching, the act of teaching. I really didn't care what my title was, but to be able to go in front of a group of people and tell them something they don't know was very satisfying. It was so satisfying that when I eventually got offered another position, I really didn't want to leave the library. I actually tried to work at both places for almost a year, and eventually just couldn't keep it up. Another thing is that at the time, I was being recruited to work at startups, getting paid probably, I'd say 3 or 4 times I was getting paid at the library. So at some point, you just have to, money wins out, and I was poor. So money wins out, and I had to go. So I stopped teaching. And once I stopped teaching, I missed it immensely. I missed it immediately. So whatever chance I had, I tried to get back into teaching. I couldn't work at the library. I think I tried to return to the program, but it was too time demanding. So I was recommended through a friend who worked with me to teach at a community college for adults. So I taught adults how to use Photoshop. And that was a popular class. I taught at Camden County College for, I would almost say, 2 or 3 years. I will go in with a room full of 30 or 40 adults, and then they'll get on the computer, and I'll teach them how to touch up their old photos, take better photos and restore their old photos. And they were all very happy. I really enjoy being able to help them, being able to tell them how to do that, because again, there's some practical outcomes that I provided them. Like an old couple come in and say, this is our wedding photo. It's all damaged and it's faded, and what should we do? And to see them be able to take this old sort of damaged photo and use Photoshop to restore it so they can get their memory back was really rewarding. I really enjoyed it. So my teaching really just center on giving people something useful and something meaningful, giving them an outcome that they enjoy. So that's always been my philosophy. Even now at the college, teaching at the college level, it's still the same. So that's how I got started teaching. And then after when community college teaching at the Photoshop class ended, I went to work in startups and I did e-commerce stuff. And when I went back to school for a master's, and as soon as I got my master's degree awarded, I went to the community college that I used to teach. I went to community college in Delaware County Community College. I went back to them and I said, hey, I got a master's degree now. Would you let me teach some classes? So I started getting 2 classes. I taught Introduction to Information Technology, and I taught paralegal. I think technology in the law office. So both are computer-based teaching, and I have years of experience teaching that. Now I have a master's degree. I have the credentials to teach it, so I started teaching it. I actually taught those classes all the way through law school, and after I graduated from law school, I could not keep up the teaching schedule because I was working at a law firm that was really time demanding, and I was traveling to New York, so I stopped teaching, and I really missed it. So I tried to do some workshops at a law firm. They encourage you to go out and be a thought leader, be an expert in your field. So I did go to community groups and teach legal issues and talk about other things. So I enjoy that as well. So the moment I left the firm and started my own firm, I decided to go back to teaching. And I was looking around to see what I can teach. There are not too many law classes I could teach, but at the time, I wasn't sure if I want to go back to teaching IT. I was looking for that as well, but by this time, this is like 2015-ish when I left the firm, there are a lot of tech people around, so they really don't need me necessarily to teach those classes. But I guess there are not too many lawyers who are teachers. So I started seeing postings for business law, and because every business program really have to teach business law and regulations and some other topics, and they really should be taught by lawyers. So I came across a couple of listings, and I happened to apply to Lincoln University, where I teach now, to teach the business law. And life has a funny way of having things work out. We were, as a family, we were going on vacation that weekend that I got an interview. So I called them and said, well, we're going to be away. We're going to be in South Carolina. Can I interview when I get back? And they're like, no, you can't, because that's when we're going to make the decision so we can get the students ready, get the class ready. So I said, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. So don't worry about it. And as soon as we got back, we got a phone call and it says, are you still interested in the position? I said, well, I didn't even get the chance to interview, but yeah, I'm interested. And they had me go in that week, and then on the spot, I got the job. So I started teaching there the following week. And that was 4.5 years ago, I think. Yes. And I've been there ever since. So call it luck, call it destiny, call it what's supposed to be done shall be done. But I'm happy that I went back. I really enjoy teaching. I started teaching only the business law class, and I progressed to teaching intellectual property law. Then I started teaching entrepreneurship and marketing and a couple of management classes. And at this point, I'm actually full-time tenure-track professor teaching entrepreneurship classes and still my law classes. So I don't know. I guess I've always enjoyed teaching. I've never looked to become a teacher as a career. and I ended up here. So maybe the world has a way to put people where they're supposed to be and what they're passionate about, and opportunities will come and things will work out. And that's the mantra I'm taking now, right? Well, how else can I look at it? I started off as a high school dropout living on the street and trying to just make it day to day. And to be here today, I'm incredibly blessed and happy. So I will just keep doing my best and see where we end up, right? Anyway, so that's story number 1. How did I become Professor Z? And hopefully you enjoy the story while I'm driving. I've been talking to you all this time, and I'm not even halfway there. So I will take this opportunity and tell more stories in the future. And until next time, be successful.